Hey there guys, so slightly different video, just based off questions that I've been asked. What is the easiest way to cut weight? For me personally, that's simple. I just have 2 cups of coffee in the morning. Everyone's different, but for me, caffeine really blunts my appetite. And I find it a very pain-free way of losing weight. So last competition, I was 115 on comp day. Now I'm down at 108.8. Been slowly trying to diet down, just keep, weight sort of at maintenance level. So as I was saying, for me, I'll have 2 cups of coffee in the morning and the caffeine just blunts the appetite. So if my appetite has been blunt, makes it really easy to stick to a diet. Very rarely do I go off it that way. It also means 1 or 2 p.m. comes around, I get to have lunch, I get to have a bigger lunch, and that keeps me full. Then I don't crave, junk food later on, which a lot of people really struggle with. I get a really good training session, especially if I'm training at home or if I'm now able to go to the gym. I'll get to have a good session then. Then, when the evening comes around, I get to have dinner. I get to have a bigger portion again. Get to eat until I'm full, as opposed to, the traditional diet. Sometimes you always feel hungry. This way, the calories that I'd normally spend on breakfast, if I'm only spending them on lunch and dinner, I get to eat until I'm full, and that's a lot more enjoyable. And you also find that there's days where, evening will come along and you're really not as hungry. So the days that I'm then not hungry, especially for lunch or dinner, I won't force myself to hit the calories either. And I sort of, use that as a little bit of a calorie bank. If I have one day, where I'm down at 2,000 calories because I simply wasn't hungry, the next day, if I was meant to stay at 3,000, I'm not stressed if I go 3,500. I've got a little bit of leeway. But I found for me, the coffee in the morning just blunted the appetite so well. And for other individuals that I've coached as well, they've found that to hold true. It does take a little bit of time to get accustomed to it. But if you're used to intermittent fasting where you traditionally eat, from, I don't know, 1 p.m. through till 9 p.m. or something like that with this 8-hour eating block and a 16-hour fast, you'll find just having coffee for breakfast generally works quite well. For me, the coffee, it's not a black coffee. I put milk in it and a sugar. So if I'm intermittent fasting, then obviously I wouldn't do that. And I just try and keep it to either, just a black coffee or go with something like green tea. Just something that, fills me up a little bit, but the caffeine really works well. I try and avoid anything diet based with artificial like sweeteners or caffeine in it. I just try and stay away from that. I just try and keep it as basic as possible, either water, coffee, or tea. And I just find for me that made it very, very easy to lose weight consistently. Especially, if you've been good all day and, your breakfast you haven't had and it's literally just been coffee. With the extra calories you still get to play with, having a small portion of dessert, for most people is going to knock that sugar craving, down. They're not going to struggle that way. And it's really about being smart and seeing how your body responds. Some people, they really need breakfast in the morning in order to function. For me, that's never been the case. And that's also simply been because a lot of my work that I've done traditionally has been in the evening. So I'm sort of used to eating later at night and then sleeping in. And if you get into the habit of having a bigger dinner, especially after a heavy training session, I find I recover a lot better, but then I also wake up in the morning feeling full. So for me, just to then have the coffee and then really blunt the appetite, works very, very well. So that in conjunction with a slightly higher protein diet, for me, the evening meal will always have some form of like red meat or chicken. So I always get protein in somehow. Or, I might literally drink a liter of the high protein milk before I go to bed. And, there's 60 grams of protein. And again, it just blunts the appetite. I wake up in the morning feeling full. So it really depends on the work that you do. If your work's a real physical nature, you might need a light breakfast to get you going, but you might still find, 1 or 2 coffees takes the edge off, which then makes the rest of the day manageable in terms of sticking to your calorie weight loss targets. Another thing I'd suggest when you're trying to cut down, I wouldn't drop calories by any more than 10 to 15%. If you just do it as a small drop, you'll find you won't really notice it, and you'll get to have the calories later on in the day if you need it. Like worst case scenario, you have a day at maintenance. I mean, that's so much better than having, your calories utterly blow out and having a big cheat day. So the days you're really finding it hard to stick to, just eat at maintenance. You're going to have some other days where you're really not hungry at all. And on those days, as I said, just capitalize on it. If you're not hungry at all, don't force yourself to eat, but sort of note how many calories you didn't consume. And if you need to have them later on in the week, especially with a heavy training session, then do so. That's my take on, cutting and weight loss in terms of caffeine, and, a simple trick that I find helpful. As I said, everyone else is different. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, have a great day wherever you are.